Hey everyone, Jenna Vaccaro here. I am the SEO Director at Mason Interactive, and today I want to talk to you about Google Analytics 4. Right? There's a lot of buzz in the industry lately, and it's it's a big deal because we have some timelines that we need to adhere to. Um, Universal Analytics is going away. We've heard this. What does it mean? What do I do? Where's my data going? We're going to answer all those questions for you, but mainly we're going to talk a lot about that timeline. So what to do in the event that this happens and what to do with my historical data. We're going to talk about what's changing. Some of the language is a little bit different. The dashboard is certainly different. We're going to talk about, some what ifs, some big project what ifs. And we're going to talk about how we can help. All right, let's get into it. So that timeline, it's ticking. It's February now, July 2023. So about 5 months from now, Universal Analytics is going away. So that means that we will not be able to access historical data in Google Analytics for about 6 months after that. So it means that if we don't migrate to GA4, you will lose that historical data. And as we know, we want to make sure that we can see past historical data to reference user behavior, to reference, performance, sales, leads. We want to know that data. So if it goes away, we'll have a lot more trouble with our marketing campaigns. So there's some migration options, right? So there's some easy setups. Google Analytics has made it tremendously easier in the past few months for that migration to happen. So if you have a small site, with a basic structure, we're not really looking to do in-depth conversion events. The transition is relatively simple. There's a GA4 assistant button on the dashboard now. So it's pretty simple. Not exactly the switch of a button, but it's pretty straightforward. There's situations where there's more complex migration updates that have to happen. So if you're running an e-commerce website like on Shopify or BigCommerce, you have a tremendously large site with a lot of audience data. You have a lot of custom UTM tracking. We have situations where there's a lot of custom event tracking and conversion event data that we want to pull over. That migration is a little bit more complex. Again, doable, but by means of Google Tag Manager, we're going to want to go in and make sure that all of those data layers are syncing. So all of our conversion data is playing nicely with each other, and we could see that user path, behavior, and end result. And then, of course, there's some more custom migration options where if you're running a site with a headless sheet or you have a ton of domains that you want to reference together, if there's more custom structures, then it gets a little bit more in depth. So what's changing? There's a lot of things that are changing, right? So when you log into that GA4 dashboard, it's like a whole new place, right? So we're looking at, one of the bigger things everyone's talking about is bounce rate. Is bounce rate going away? It technically is. There will be a version of it. You will be able to see, what users are not interacting with, but we're calling it engagement rate. So GA4 talks a lot about engaged users. So we want to look at users who are sticking around. An engaged user is somebody who sticks around for more than 10 seconds, clicks, scrolls, makes some kind of interaction, or they looked at 2 or more pages on a screen, right? So that's an engaged person. They want to know more about the page they're viewing. They want to, they're engaging with your content. Whereas when we looked at bounce rate, it was solely focused on users that weren't doing anything and just leaving. But that's not necessarily true. People who technically bounced visited your site, and just because they left after that first interaction, they're counted as a bounce, which could appear as a failure, right? It could appear as like, oh, that wasn't a successful visit. But what if I put out a really great article and that person spent a long time reading it, taking notes, understanding it, and then left? I think that was pretty successful. They learned about my brand. They learned about the content I put out. So we're kind of shifting our focus here a lot more now, looking at engaged users versus somebody who came to a page and didn't perform a click or anything like that. So I think this is a good thing. So again, you're going to see a lot more information about engagement, so engaged users. So we're not necessarily looking at from a session perspective. We're looking at it from an events-based way of looking at it, right? So we're looking at How long are users who did perform a click? They did scroll, they did go to another page. What are they doing? How long are they sticking around? That's the engagement time. No longer are we looking at how many pages did they visit, but let's look at how many engaged sessions there were. How many, what content did the user go to? What's that behavior flow looking like? So we're really looking at, the people who performed an event and what they're doing after that. So that's really what GA4 is in a nutshell. Again, there's a lot of things that go into this, right? So if we're looking at the things that matter to you as a business owner, you're looking at, you want that historical data, right? So we want to make sure that, number one, all of that historical data is pulled so that when that time comes that Universal Analytics is gone, we have that data saved. We can upload it to Google Data Studio. We can integrate it with other reporting features. So we can still have that data to reference. We really want to look at, year over year data. We don't want that to go away. We want to preserve the infrastructure. So things you're used to seeing, again, that bounce rate topic, you're used to seeing the way that your advanced custom reports are set up. And again, if there's solutions that aren't readily available or what you think is readily available in GA4, it's really user friendly and we're able to build out custom reports based on what you want to see. If you don't migrate to GA4, the world isn't going to end, but you will miss out on a lot of data. So from that time that there's a cutoff on July 23rd, you're not going to be able to see anything after that until you migrate. So you're going to get a lot of emails about it if you haven't already. You're going to see a banner every time you log into analytics. There's always going to be messages to tell you, please do this. So please don't fail to migrate to GA4. It's very important. If you lose access to year over year data, please don't. That's why we're telling you now. You don't want to miss out on seeing what happened seasonally, what happened last year, what happened last quarter. You want to be able to have that data to compare to. And then, there are some new views, right? We talked about a lot of different ways that this information is going to be gathered and stored. So the views might be hard to understand. We haven't had a new version of analytics in a really long time. It's been years. So, and this one is unbelievably different than anything else, but it's change. Change is good. I'm excited. I know some people are a little scared, but there's really nothing to be scared about. It's a really great movement in the way we look at data. And I think it's going to help us make even better informed decisions about our marketing campaigns. We can help. So if you're confused, you're scared, you don't want to, you're just kind of tuning it out, talk to us. We can answer your questions. We're here. You got this. Let us know if you need us. hello@masoninteractive.com. Have a good one.